What's going on, Z Nation, and welcome to another edition of ZSPN. I'm your host, Zaid here. And today, guys, we're going to be talking about the Los Angeles Lakers as it concerns potential buyouts, candidates that could potentially join the Los Angeles Lakers if the Los Angeles Lakers are thinking to possibly just sign a player who could potentially get a buyout with any certain team that they are potentially on right now, who are basically not living up to their contract and basically not or just not really just feeling the vibes with their certain team and just want to go somewhere else and compete for either a playoffs or maybe championship. I mean, just certain players that personally I sort of see that could possibly join the Los Angeles Lakers. And guys, I personally read an article about, certain players who could potentially be candidates for potential buyouts. And personally, I saw this sort of article potentially sort of happening. And honestly, guys, these past, probably since the season started, with the Lakers were pretty lucky to get certain players who got a buyout, like a Tyson Chandler, who personally really helped out the Lakers off the bench defensively, and plus the Lakers did needed a center. So, with buyouts potentially going to happen with certain teams and certain players, it could be a huge help for the Los Angeles Lakers to, potentially, get back into a sort of vibe playoff type of team. Now, obviously, with the recent absence of LeBron James with his groin injury, the Lakers, as of late, have not really been living up to their potentials as of late. And I know the record so far without LeBron James are now 2-6, I believe. So with the win against last night,
the Dallas
Memphis Grizzlies
Mavericks
was just one of the perks that the Lakers tonight, these past couple of games, they have always fell under the pressure in fourth quarter situations. But even before LeBron James, we were still looking for potential players who could potentially help them scoring wise and also defensively. But there's some players out there. I mean, even if the Lakers don't want to make a trade or just potentially don't want to lose assets, there's potential players who could get a buyout who could also help the Lakers, potentially off the bench, or just basically help them scoring wise or defensively. So guys, I have a couple of players in mind who could potentially get a buyout and honestly help the Lakers, and also LeBron James with either the playoffs or possibly just this season, and just help them score and stuff. So I have maybe 5, maybe 6 players in mind that could potentially get a buyout and sign with the Los Angeles Lakers. So guys, number one, this is going to be a weird one, but obviously for obvious reasons that could potentially happen. Number 5 on the list could number 6 on the list could potentially happen is Kenneth Faried. Guys, Kenneth Faried so far in this season we haven't really seen anything from him with the Nets as of late, but maybe these past couple of games that he was on, we saw some glimpse of him, averaging about double-doubles, and as of last night, he had averaged a double-double with 11 points and 10 rebounds. So he brings that sort of defensive vibe to the team. But last time I saw him play as a net, he averaged about 21 points a game and also a 10 rebounds a game. So he has some glimpse of, defensive prowess, and also showing some offense. And to be honest, guys, seeing him play for the past 7 years as a Denver Nugget, he has been recognized as being a great athletic defensive player who can also score, but at the same time brings you that defensive ability that he is well known throughout his career with the Denver Nuggets, and also during his times as a college student, who also, I believe during his time as a college player, he did pass Tim Duncan as one of the most rebounding ability type of players. So Kenneth Faried could be on that list, who can potentially get a buyout with the Brooklyn Nets, but I doubt that that's going to happen. So he could potentially ride out this season with the Nets and potentially become a free agent. So, it still remains to be seen if the Lakers are interested, but I'm just putting that out there. If somehow the Lakers potentially have interest in Kenneth Faried, so that's one of the players who could potentially get a buyout. Number 5 will be a weird one, honestly, because he was traded like 2 months ago, and honestly, guys, it could potentially happen, and that is Trevor Ariz. Now, we all know Trevor Ariz. Recently he has been in the rumor mill for the Lakers to potentially join them during his times with the Phoenix Suns, but obviously that did not work out in the Lakers' favor because of the owner of the Phoenix Suns. Didn't want to help the Lakers whatsoever, so he traded Trevor Ariz to the Wizards. But honestly, guys, seeing these past couple of games with Trevor Ariz and the team, honestly, guys, with the injury of John Wall, we can honestly say, guys, that for the Wizards, potentially competing for a playoff, it's not really going to happen. And honestly, the way they're using Trevor Ariz, honestly, they are not going to really benefit, of his talent, since they're not really playing for anything. And honestly, guys, they look like they are going to potentially just, waste a lot of talent in Trevor Ariz. So I can potentially see Trevor Ariz potentially getting a buyout from the Wizards. So that's one player in mind that I can honestly say that the Lakers could potentially go after. So it still remains to be seen, but that's one player. Number 4, it would be, I forgot his name. I think it's DeMarre Carroll. He's also a Brooklyn Nets player who, honestly, guys, he brings, honestly, some good offensive ability. Now, not so much defensive ability, to be honest, because, I haven't really seen him play defense, during his times with the Brooklyn Nets. So he does bring that offensive ability. So I can honestly say maybe shooting ability could potentially help the Lakers in, being that sort of defensive players. So offensive players. So DeMarre Carroll will possibly could get a buyout, but I possibly don't really see that happening, but it could be a possibility. So that's one player in mind. Number 3 is Carmelo Anthony. Guys, Carmelo Anthony hasn't been playing, with the with the Houston Rockets as of late, because there is some uh, discommunications with both the coach and Kemal Anthony, but basically the organization. So obviously they are just waiting it out for potential trade value, that if there's anybody interested in Carmelo Anthony. So they're just waiting it out, honestly. And to be honest, guys, just being a fan of Carmelo Anthony throughout his career, I can honestly say, guys, that he still has enough in him to potentially help a sort of playoff team to compete in certain situations like the Western Conference. And to be honest, guys, even though some people might say that he's washed up, I honestly say, guys, that the reason that they are saying that you go directly to that is because he hasn't been, basically being, playing a lot on the court. So honestly, guys, me personally, if he was in the type of situation that he is in, like if he's in a different atmosphere, like the Los Angeles Lakers, and having a good relationship with a certain player like a LeBron James, he could potentially change his career around and just basically be a backup type of player. Now, that's if he wants to play a backup player, which I guarantee you, if Kemal Anthony does consider that, we could potentially have a much better help off the bench if Kemal Anthony does consider that. And honestly, guys, we should remember how Kemal Anthony played. I mean, the guy knows how to shoot and knows how to defend. So he has those certain abilities that could help the Los Angeles Lakers. And, we do need help shooting-wise and defensively. So if he still has that in him, I can potentially see that sort of situation happen. But potentially getting a buyout, I don't really see that also happening, but it could potentially happen. So Kemal Anthony could be a choice for a buyout if the Lakers are interested in him. So that's one player, honestly. Number two is Zach Randolph. He's right now playing with the Kings, and honestly, he does bring offensive abilities, but he can also defend also. So Zach Randolph could potentially get a buyout, but seeing him throughout his career playing offensively and defensively could potentially, he's sort of a similarity to a Kenneth Faried. So the Lakers do need defensive players and can also play offense, but shooting ability, that's not his thing also. So defensively could help out the Lakers off the bench also. Similarity to also possibly like a Tyson Chandler, who is a backup player who could play defense, not so much offense, but Zach Randolph does both. So Zach Randolph could be a potential buyout also. And number one on that list, I guarantee you guys, I don't see that this player potentially get a buyout, with his relationship with a certain coach. But honestly, Rudy Gay with the San Antonio Spurs, he potentially knows how to, he's the type of guy throughout his career is well known as playing great offensive game, who is potentially, guys, he is an all-star. And, even though he hasn't been living up to that certain player who was like in the top 10, top 20 of greatest small forwards in the NBA, but that wasn't the case. And honestly, guys, he does bring that sort of all-star mentality, and can also play offense, who could potentially help the Lakers off the bench, with the absence of LeBron James. But once he returns, once LeBron James does return, he could help out the Lakers offensively. And I know what you guys are saying, with all these buyouts and all these certain players that I'm mentioning, what's going to happen to our backup players? They're going to be still around, but potentially they could get also released so they can put in some players like the players that I mentioned. So it could potentially happen, or they could be some Lakers who are still young, still developing, could potentially get moved to the G League with the South Bay Lakers. So potentially that sort of happening could happen if the Lakers are interested of signing a player off a buyout. So it could potentially happen, guys. So guys, I want to know your thoughts about these players who are getting potentially getting a buyout, or potentially, if the Lakers are interested, that could make a trade for these certain players. Because honestly, guys, these players that I mentioned could potentially help the Lakers off the bench and potentially help them in the playoffs, to be honest. And once LeBron James returns, he will have certain weapons around him that could potentially help out the Lakers for potential wins, who can score, who can play defense. And honestly, guys, those certain players that I mentioned could really help out the Lakers, with the situation they're in right now. So please comment down below, like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you all in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Go Lakers. Let's just hope that the Lakers can continue to win some games. And if there's a player in mind that they're interested in, they could potentially go after them. Or if there's a buyout that certain teams make, hope the Lakers are interested and could potentially consider them. Potentially. Peace.